Hey, my name is Eric Hopkins, and this is my good buddy Brandon, and this is our weekly AEW recap show for the week. Starting next week, though, we'll be combining this show with our weekly WWE recap show, and we'll be recapping all the professional wrestling news and reviews for all the shows that go on throughout the week in one show that'll be airing on Thursday mornings here on the channel. Outside of the pay-per-views, we'll still be covering those on the weekends, and they'll air on Monday morning. But with that being said, if you're finding this for the very first time, please click that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. Brandon's wife, or I think that was his wife.
Yeah, that's who that was.
That's all good. Made a brief cameo appearance there.
It hurt everything.
It's all good. But yeah, so we're going to get into the review for AEW Rampage and Dynamite, since we did not get a chance to go over the AEW Rampage debut just yet. So we're going to go over that show before we get into Dynamite. So let's get things going without any further ado here. Rampage opened up, which what I'm going to tell you right now, I thought the debut of Rampage was a close to perfect show if you're going to have one for a professional wrestling program.
Yeah,
but
I was out of town, so
yeah, he was camping with the family, correct? If I remember correctly.
Yep.
Yeah, doing a little fun times there. Nothing wrong with that. But the show opened up with the Impact World Championship match, Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega. This was an excellent match, pretty much the perfect way to kick off the show, I think. They had a strong lockup to start. Christian took Omega down with a shoulder tackle, then flipped him off. Omega feigned a knuckle lock and laid in strikes, including a couple hard chops. He went for the one-winged angel early, but Christian turned it into a kill switch attempt, forcing Omega to escape to the floor and regroup. They had a back and forth match all the way through this here. Christian went for a kill switch again at one point, but Omega fought out and hit the "you can't escape" for two. Christian hit a reverse DDT for a near fall of his own. Omega countered a running attack into a V trigger, a power bomb, and another V trigger for a near fall. Christian fought out of the one-winged angel. Omega tried to turn it into Kreutz Wrath. Not sure exactly what that is. I've never heard him call that.
Probably a video game reference.
Right. But Christian fought out and hit a spear for a great near fall. Omega hit a Snapdragon suplex to counter another kill switch attempt. Lots of countering of the finishers here. Then followed it up with another. Christian stopped the momentum with a V trigger, the momentum of a V trigger, and snapped Omega's neck over the ropes. Following it up with a frog splash for a very nice near fall. That's when AEW chants started to ring out through the arena. Don Callis distracted the official, allowing Omega to hit a low blow. That's when the Young Bucks came out as the official was being distracted by Callis. The Young Bucks came out and slid a chair to Omega, tried to help him out, much in elite typical fashion, for the most part. That's when Omega tried to hit the one-winged angel on it, but Christian fought out again and hit the kill switch on the chair to win the match and the Impact World Championship here.
Here's my question.
Okay.
Here. I've said it before, and I'll say it again.
Mm-hmm.
Impact is losing out on this deal. Not only is your champion beating people on your roster who should be champion with your belt is on another show, being defended on another show with people who do not work for you.
True. I'm not going to deny that. You're absolutely right. You can't say, well, I guess it's getting a little bit of a spotlight on this brand new show. But outside of that,
a show that doesn't matter to TNA.
Well, that's true. I don't know, for whatever reason, a part of me kind of felt like, you know how I am about pitting champions before big title matches, or pitting champions at all. So my one bit of criticism here, outside of the Impact thing, Kenny Omega taking a clean, as clean as it could be, yeah, but. Yeah, I mean, they're playing backfired against themselves. Christian won it as clean as he could do it. Which, by the way, the selling on that kill switch on the chair, absolutely incredible. Great job by Kenny Omega there. But I almost maybe wonder if you maybe should have held off beating Kenny until the AEW title match. But the reason why I don't think they were going to do that is because Christian ain't winning that title. Kenny will retain the AEW title, but.
Again,
I see your point.
My question is, why the hell is your title being defended by a company or on a company that has no bearing on your company, other than the fact that their champion is your champion because you worked out a deal? Okay.
And Christian, I believe, is an AEW talent, but he is a former Impact World Champion. So I guess you could tell that story. But well, he's current now. But yeah, I agree with you.
It's just baffling to me that you would have that. Like I'm not wrong here to understanding like why your belt is being handed off to another company's employee and not someone who you pay on your roster who should be your champion.
Right. I get that, but and I'm not trying to defend it. I'm really not. If that's the way, like I know there's people in the company probably like superstars are like, why can't we have the belt? I'm sure that's the case. But it seems like AEW, New Japan, Impact, they've got this working relationship to where it doesn't seem to be as much separate entities as it once was. But not saying that they should do it that way.
Makes no sense.
I mean, I guess it just depends on your perspective. I don't have no problem with Christian holding the belt per se, outside of the fact that I guess he is an AEW star. Because I mean, I'm sure Christian will be on. I think he believe he's on Impact this week, as a matter of fact, and he's going to be on that show a lot more moving forward. Which probably again tells me he's probably not beating Kenny Omega for the AEW title. I see why AEW booked this because I'm sure. A lot of people thought that.
Hold on.
Okay,
hold on. Let me work through this.
All right.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine. I'll get to it.
So, the only way I could see why they did what they did, and maybe Impact is okay with this, is because Kenny can't afford to lose no matter what, in a sense. Okay, he didn't really lose cleanly here. He got beat, yes, but he got beat because his own plan backfired.
Right.
Okay, so I can. Okay, cool.
Doesn't hurt him too much for sure.
So they give it to Christian. Christian goes on a small run with it. Doesn't need to be long.
And
he can then lose that title to an Impact star.
But then you got the other flip side of that coin. Again, kind of painting AEW a little bit more in a worse light. So Kenny Omega's not good enough to lose to a TNA talent to drop the title back. I mean, you could go that route too. But yeah, you're probably right. I'd say Christian will probably have a small run with it. Drop it to somebody in TNA, or I'm sorry, Impact. I know they're not called TNA really anymore.
So it does make him look bad because it's like, okay, wait, let me get this straight. Your champion couldn't lose our title on your show because he's your champion.
Yeah, that's kind of
probably
part of it.
Okay for our champion to lose our title on your show.
Yeah, I guess if you want to look at it that way, sure. I guess it doesn't bother me a whole lot, but I see the criticism there. Absolutely, I do. I mean, especially if you're an Impact fan or an Impact wrestler. I know I've seen some on Twitter talking about, like, just like, why is this guy holding our belt? And I understand that. I mean, if you're working your butt off every day and you got a guy coming in from another company, but for whatever reason the arrangement is, I guess they thought that was the right thing to do. Now, from an AEW perspective, though, when it comes to this match, I understand why they had Christian beat Kenny. Because clearly everybody was expecting Adam Hangman Page to challenge Kenny Omega for the world title at All Out in Chicago, the AEW world title. But apparently it has now been, revealed by Adam Hangman Page himself on Twitter, I believe. The reason why, and it's always been the plan apparently, Adam Hangman Page is not going to be at All Out is because his wife is due to give birth to their child around the time of that event. So it's always been the plan for Adam to miss that show. Now, how much time he's going to take off because of this, we don't know. But as of right now, he's not been on the show for the last few weeks since he lost in that whole thing there. So whenever he does come back, I'm sure they're going to have some sort of storyline to explain how he's going to get another title shot against Kenny. That's something they'll have to address. But I've been hearing it could be the New York show at the end of September, or it could be Full Gear a little bit later this year. But that notwithstanding, that would be the reason why they had to switch in Christian. Now, because Christian wins here, I think it's because AEW felt they need to make Christian out to look like a credible threat to Kenny Omega's AEW World Championship reign. And by giving him the Impact title and beating him, they've obviously been playing it up since this win that Christian feels like he's in Kenny's head, and Kenny knows he can beat him now. And, of course, now the crowd knows he can beat him now. So I understand the booking decision. But, yes, to your point, I understand the criticism of like, okay, with the Impact title, what are we doing here? And maybe it's best to have Christian do a little run and give it back to the Impact wrestlers and let them deal with that. And if you want to do cross stuff with Impact stuff, but maybe don't involve their titles. But then again, you got the Good Brothers over here. But the Good Brothers are Impact wrestlers. They're not AEW wrestlers. So that makes some more sense.
Yeah, but they're also not losing their titles to
no
AEW wrestlers.
Right. Not yet, anyway. So we'll see what they do. But yeah, I don't foresee that happening. But yeah, I mean, because it's like Kenny's, got the AAA title for which he defended against Andrade this last weekend as well. Which a lot of people would be like, okay, why did he drop the belt to Andrade? Which I heard was the original plan. But then AEW kind of stepped in and said, is it okay if Kenny wins this and keeps the title a little longer? Because they didn't want Kenny to lose 2 nights in a row.
But they hold their title, like AAA holds their titles in a way different light. It wasn't AAA per se, but it was what's the name of that? Chikara, I think it's Chikara. It's either Chikara or Knockout. It's I
think it's Chikara.
Japan wrestling company that Pac wrestled for at the time before he became AEW. He did not lose to Adam Hangman Page. Remember when he attacked Adam and beat the crap out of him essentially, and then
vaguely
got taken out of that match? It was during the debut of the first All Out, or All In, one of the two.
It's been a
where
minute.
He beat the crap out of Adam Hangman Page because they did not want him to lose because he was their champion, and they were like, "No, not gonna happen."
Well, and that becomes an issue when you start working together with companies, or you knock down that forbidden door, so to speak, which is great, but you also have to continue to get along with these other companies, because we were also, wasn't there supposed to be I can't remember, who was it supposed to go to Impact, and Sammy Guevara, and it was supposed to do something over at Impact, and I guess there was a disagreement backstage. Chris Jericho had to get involved, and there was some disagreement between Impact and AEW. So when you do this sort of thing, there are going to be issues. So you got to do that at your own risk. And the world title from Impact is kind of along those lines. It's a tug and pull. Like, okay, what do we do if we're going to start working together? That's part of the reason why I'm sure WWE has stayed kind of on their own. They don't want anybody saying, no, you can't have this guy lose, or we can't have this title holder lose, or things like that. They want to make their own decisions. And to that, I understand it. Because I mean, it's not, I don't think you're going to have a whole lot of AEW stars going to New Japan. Now, if they lose over there, I don't think you won't see Kenny Omega losing over there probably very much as a world champion. But somebody like Maxley, who's gone over there for the IWGP title and things like that, that's a little different story, because that's New Japan's title again. And now you got AEW. Lance Archer is an AEW star holding that belt too. So again, when you do this sort of things, you're going to have some conflicts. But I see your point. But yeah, from an AEW perspective for this show, I understand why they booked it the way they did. But yeah, so we'll move on from it. But yeah, I mean, Impact is probably going to be getting their belt back here sooner rather than later, I'd say. But I'm sure Christian will hold on to it at least through All Out to kind of build up this Kenny Omega storyline for sure.
Yeah.
After the match, Jurassic Express ran out to congratulate Christian, and of course, the crowd went bananas for this because, again, unlike other companies, Kenny Omega hasn't been pinned in like ever. I mean, it's been a long time. So when it happens and you can do it, it's a good thing. Again, though, you could argue maybe you don't put him before the AEW. But again, when you're defending all these belts, he's going to have to lose some of these belts at some point. He can't just hold on to all of them. So, but yeah, I thought it was an okay booking decision here for sure. But yeah. After commercial, Mark Henry was backstage with Christian and the Jurassic Express. Christian said he feels great, but it's hot tonight in Pittsburgh. He's glad Henry's here. Christian said he's going to take all of Omega's titles, but Omega's the real deal. It's going to be nearly impossible to win the AEW World Championship, but Christian's in Omega's head now. So again, already starting to play up that storyline that he can beat Kitty. A video package for Miro versus Fuego del Sol aired. Fuego said he deserves an AEW contract and God's favorite champion would be baptized by fire. That led to the match here. If If Fuego wins, he earns an AEW contract. Fuego immediately hit the Tornado DDT on Miro before the match, then hit a second one once the match started, but Miro rolled out to the floor. Very smart by Miro here. He just barely made it at the count of 9 to get back into the ring, and Fuego hit a third Tornado DDT. So this was an awesome start to the match to kind of give you at least a little hope that Fuego could possibly win this. But of course, Miro caught him and hit a Samoa drop. Miro then followed up with a former Machka kick and followed by the game over for the pretty quick submission. So yeah, Fuego del Sol loses here in pretty convincing fashion after he got the jump early on. So after the match, Miro ripped up Fuego's contract. But of course, after the commercial aired, Mcgevara's music played, and he was handed a clipboard by Tony Khan on the rampway. This was apparently, according to reports, was a complete shoot. Fuego del Sol had no idea this was happening. Guevara addressed Fuego and said, "You're like 1-50 now," which I guess the exact record is 1-40. Because these people love you, though, so who cares? A lot of the guys in the back like him, too. Guevara was given the okay by TK to come out and say officially, Fuego del Sol is all elite, and so he handed a contract to Fuego, and they embraced. Now, we discussed a little bit last night on the WWE show about how some people were saying, you know, if NXT or WWE breaks a stipulation, everybody's going to get mad. I view this a little differently than Brandon does, because, again, based on the wording they said, they left a little wiggle room.
Don't you dare.
I'm sorry.
Don't you dare.
To me, he didn't say he must win. If he won this match, he'd get it, but he lost. As Tony then decided,
lost the match.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that's the only way he could get it, based on the way they said. But yeah, like I said, we got some different opinions on it. But
if you win, you get a contract.
That notwithstanding,
he lost.
He did lose, but they didn't say he must win. You see what I'm saying? I get what you're saying.
Don't you dare.
But regardless of whether how we would disagree here or not, this was a great.
Cool.
Yeah, this was a great moment. Yeah,
it was cool. Yeah,
especially since it was apparently not told to Fuego this was going to happen. We got genuine emotion out of the kid, and he was crying his eyes out. And I mean, I'm sure once Tony and Sammy walked out on the ramp, he kind of had an idea what was coming. But yeah, this was a great moment, despite the fact. Yeah, they might have given up on a step here if you want to view it that way. So, I mean, I'm not going to begrudge you if you do see it that way.
It was a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
He probably did think his career was over, which, it's a shitty feeling to have. But then to have someone like Sammy Guevara, who is a friend of yours, be the one to give you that contract, that's got to feel great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about that.
Even though they didn't stick to the stip, it's still a cool thing to do.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Next week, they ran down the Dynamite show that we're about to review as well, so we'll get into that here in just a minute. A hype video aired for next week's Rampage, which is now a day away when you're seeing this video, from the United Center in Chicago. It even had a clip of Darby Allin repeating the line that I want to wrestle the best in the world. So they are definitely laying it on thick that CM Punk is going to be at this show.
Fucking better.
As you said, they better. And there was even a little bit more tease on tonight's Dynamite that we'll get into here in a little bit. That, again, they're laying it on kind of thick. You got to look for it a little bit this week. But it wasn't as thick as it has been, but it was still there. So I'll run that through once we get to it. Britt Baker and Red Velvet spoke to Mark Henry. Velvet said she interrupted Baker's promo last week as revenge for hitting her with a crutch. Made some sense, actually, because, I mean, yeah, Britt started that. She's going to ruin Baker's night again. Baker said she didn't ruin anything because it doesn't rain in Pittsburgh while Baker's champion. This is her city, and at the end of the day, it'll be still AEW Women's Champion Dr. Britt Baker D.M.D. So that set up the main event of the show. In the middle of Brittsburgh itself, Dr. Britt Baker defeated Red Velvet for the AEW Women's World Championship to retain her title here. Novel concept, I know. You got a superstar in their hometown, and you let them win. Not only that, you let the champ win. It just made good sense. I mean, I wouldn't say at times that this was the best match top to bottom. There were some times it felt like maybe they were kind of struggling a little bit with their chemistry between each other. But they were telling a good match, though. Red Velvet was attacking Britt's broken wrist, and at one point even ripped off the protection over it and was pounding on it on the mat, just trying to keep it from using that wrist to use, because that was her normal hand she uses for the lockjaw submission. But by the end of it, they were rolling around and reversing the lockjaw a lot, and of course she had to use her opposite hand to perform the maneuver to get the submission win here. So again, good showcase for Britt Baker. They got a bona fide superstar in her now, especially in Pittsburgh. The crowd was completely into it all night long. I mean, they were not going to do anything anything but cheer her, even though she's pretty much a heel. But in her hometown, she's going to be the babyface no matter what. After the match, though, Britt Baker's parents were shown in the crowd. Baker hit almost like a lightning spiral on Velvet, but Chris Statlander, who is one of the top contenders in the women's division, hit the ring to make the save to keep, Baker and Rebel, whatever you want to call her. I get so confused because I can call her both at times. It's like, okay. Statlander went to make the save, but a mystery woman ran out. A lot of people thought at first glance it looked like Becky Lynch. I didn't necessarily think that. But to the live crowd, they kind of looked like they didn't know who she was because she was not someone we'd seen really a whole lot before. But luckily, those at home, the commentating even kind of were acting like they didn't know who it was. But then they said it was Jamie Hayter. She returned after a few appearances on Dynamite in the past year or so. It's been a while. And she took out Statlander. That's when Britt Baker hit the curb stomp on Red Velvet and posed with Hayter to end the show. This is obviously tying up, or at least furthering a storyline that they've been telling, that Britt Baker has talked about how she needs some backup because everybody's gunning for her AEW Women's title. So she's going to be a bit of a bodyguard, I guess, to Britt Baker, as we'll get into a little bit here now. With that being said, that was Rampage. So we'll move on to Dynamite for this week for August 18th, 2021. The show opened up with Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston making their way to the ring throughout the crowd, but they were jumped by the former Everrise 2.0 and Daniel Garcia from behind in the middle of the crowd. That kind of came out of nowhere. Of course, these two guys have a match against Darby Allin and Sting on this show. I guess they cut a promo after they hit him in the leg with like a pipe or something and knocked both these guys out. Matt Lee grabbed a mic and in the ring taunted Darby Allin and Sting, saying, "We took out your buddies." So I guess they kind of have been, team it up a little here and there, but it's not like anything major.
It's not like they fucking friends, man.
Right, not really. So
we just know each other.
When this happened at first, Moxley was the one who was taken out the worst, so I thought, okay, or maybe not. I thought for a split second it was going to be 2.0 and Daniel Garcia, and AEW was going to pull a WWE where they switched the matchup, and Sting wasn't going to wrestle. It was going to be Darby, Moxley, and Kingston against those three. I would have been a little upset because that'd have been, all right, you advertise one thing and then you change it. So I'm glad they didn't do that, though. Lights went out, and Sting and Darby then made their entrance. When Darby's music played, he attacked 2.0 from behind in the ring with a skateboard. So that led to the Texas Tornado tag match. They immediately brawled out into the crowd. Garcia assisted 2.0, effectively making it a 3-on-2 match, though. But since it's Texas Tornado, no rules. Great. Fine. I could go with it in that case. Not a problem.
Yeah. I just wish that like I said before, if you're going to do that, just say that.
Yeah,
like,
and that's fine.
From this point on, this is what we're doing.
Now, I noticed on this show, outside of the Elite, which I'm starting to see, it's not so much that we're getting involved in every match. With the Elite, this is what they do. Their NWO mentality, which they're played into the storyline. So we'll get to that here in a minute. But yeah, in this case, absolutely great. No rules. So great. You can have anybody get involved. And we even got a little bit more from Eddie Kingston here in a little bit as well. So they ended up fighting back up into the back area a little bit. They dragged Sting back towards the ring, but Allin balancing on a railing, walking back down from the crowd. Kind of, if anybody knows how to walk on a railing, it's a skateboarder. He basically ran down this thing and dove onto 2.0 at Garcia. Eddie Kingston then appeared from outside, through the crowd as well. He took out Garcia and drug him to the back to even out the odds here. It's 2-on-2. Darby and Sting produced a table, but 2.0 stopped them from setting it up in the ring. They suplexed Darby onto his own skateboard on the outside. The skateboard was turned upside down with the wheels facing up. They suplexed him onto that. That looked like it sucked for Darby Allin. Oh my God. Sting fought off both of 2.0 in the ring and went for 10 punches in the quarter, but Parker cut him off. They turned it into a double power bomb through the table that Sting at 62 years old took. But Sting kind of did a Hulk Hogan spot where he got up pretty much immediately and no-sold the power bomb through the table. A lot of people are going to criticize that. I think it kind of works here because Sting used to have that thing where he kind of did that a little bit too back in the day. But, I get why maybe we get some criticism, though, for sure. Darby drop-kicked them both into perfect Scorpion Deathlock position, though, as they were acting scared away from Sting. And Sting hit both, locking them both up at the same time for a simultaneous Scorpion Deathlock for the double submission. That was pretty impressive, too. So, all in all, the crowd popped for all this. It was a very good match all the way through. you could argue the not selling the table spot all you want, I suppose, but the crowd was into it. And really, at the end of the day, I guess that's all that matters. Even for a WWE show, sometimes I don't like if the crowd's into it. It looks good on television. So I thought all in all, pretty good win here. So yeah, and then of course they cheered as they both left the arena. Earlier today, as they were taping Dark and Elevation, I guess Mcgevara proposed to his girlfriend, and she said yes in the middle of the ring. I guess that was the major announcement he had. Good for them in his hometown, or his home state, I suppose. I don't know if this is his hometown per se. But I guess he's now engaged to be married to some lady named Pam. So that's who was in the ring. The camera cut to a promo from Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard because Spears is facing Sammy Guevara here. Spears said he'd let Guevara's now fiance be an honorary member of the Pinnacle, and for one night she could be on top. So, brother. Yeah, so a good line here from Shawn Spears for sure. And this followed up with Sammy Guevara versus Shawn Spears. These two guys had another great match. The crowd was completely into this. I thought it was really nice to see Shawn Spears have a good, fun, entertaining match. It's probably one of the best matches I've seen him have since he's came to AEW, especially in a one-on-one situation. Yeah. Spears attacked Guevara during the entrance to try to get the upper hand, but Guevara was ready for him. He hit a really nice flip dive off the ramp to the ringside area. Guevara beat Spears down at ringside until he was sent into the ring steps. Then Tully gave Spears the assist on the stuffed pile driver. There's a little confusion here on commentary. I think JR was kind of like, why is it Aubrey Edwards throwing out Tully Blanchard from the ringside area, because he's blatantly getting involved here. But the key is the match hadn't started yet. After this pile driver, that's when Sammy Guevara rolled into the ring. That's when Aubrey rang the bell. Now, Tully tried to get involved immediately again after the bell rang. That's when Aubrey chucked him out of here. So she immediately ejected him from ringside. So they did it in the right sequence, so at least it wasn't after the match had already started. So Spears avoided the double springboard moonsault, and they traded chops into a commercial break. During the break, Spears set up one of the barricades between the ring and the security railing on the outside. They both sprung to the top rope. Spears flipped him off, and Guevara hit a top rope cutter for a good near fall. Spears then countered a top rope hurricanrana into an avalanche C4 for another near fall. Guevara escaped another C4 attempt on the apron and sent Spears through the propped up barricade with a Death Valley driver to the floor. That looked like it sucked for Shawn Spears. No doubt about those metal barricades. It's not like those padded ones in WWE. He then climbed the ropes and hit the 630 senton, but Spears kicks out of this. That a lot of people felt like that should have been the finish. No doubt about it. Now, I'll tell you this. That 630, Shawn Spears ate all of Sammy Guevara's body weight. He landed flush on Shawn Spears' chest. That looked like it sucked. But, yeah, he kicked out. Now, granted, this is the same move that he lost the Stadium Stampede match to Guevara at the end of it on. So you could argue, okay, he knows how it's scouted and maybe he knows what to expect. But again, big 630 move, though, probably should have been the end of the match, though. And I can understand that because after that, in the center of the ring, Guevara pulled down his knee pad and hit repeated knees to the face. This looked like... because after this, Shawn Spears started to bleed from the forehead. This looked like he hit him and cut him open hard way. With his bare knee. At least that's what it appeared, because it was just falling all over, Sammy Guevara after this. He then hit the GTS on Spears for the win. So it was still a good finish, but it maybe should have ended a few moves earlier, but they wanted to drive the point home with Sammy getting a little bit of an aggressive side, I suppose. But, all in all, I think a good match pretty well all top to bottom, though. And after the match, Guevara kissed his fiancée at ringside. So... Christian Cage was with Tony Schiavone backstage. He was immediately interrupted by Don Callis, who gave Christian his first break 25 years ago, he said. He patronizingly congratulated Christian on his win and opportunity, saying Omega would win anyway at All Out. Christian said he's in Omega's head now, and Omega is terrified he's going to take the AEW World title before calling Callis a carny piece of shit again, which is the same line he called him last week. So just furthering that feud, nothing special here really, just kind of leading up toward All Out still. A video package recap Dante Martin's performance. Did you see this last week? I couldn't. You weren't on AEW or recap last week, but Dante Martin was in a 6-man tag against the Elite with the Seidel brothers, and Dante Martin put on a performance to end all performances here. He looked like a superstar in this match. He was the clear stand, and Kenny Omega was giving him the shine. He was letting him, get near falls and everything on him. At one point, I thought he was going to pin Kenny Omega. So if you haven't seen that, go check out that Dante Martin. That out. Yeah, that's amazing. He said he took Omega to the absolute limit, and he's going to keep rising up the ranks. So good to see the kid highlighted, especially since I think his partner in Top Flight is injured at the moment, Darius Martin. So I'm sure he'll be back at some point. Dan Lambert flanked by Junior Dos Santos and Andre Arlovsky. I don't remember the Andre Arlovsky, but I remember Junior Dos Santos from watching some UFC back in the day. They were all in the ring with Tony Shivani. Obviously, Dan Lambert's coming out to address, Lance Archer, who beat him up a few weeks back for running down the company. He felt that he had been silenced and called millennials soft and triggered. He said that Dos Santos and Arlovsky are ready for a fight. AEW is not the answer to your wrestling or professional wrestling prayers. So kind of talking to the smart marks out there a little bit. Now, I'm not going to lie. I thought the dialogue was kind of cheesy in this promo, but Dan Lambert might have, turned it up to a 12 and maybe went a little overboard. But to me, he cut a better promo than a lot of WWE main roster stars. I'm not going to lie. He had some passion behind this. He said AEW was a roster full of wannabe tough guys who can't wrestle. That's going to appeal to all the AEW haters, no doubt about that. These fans are only here because it's the only good part of their lives, he said. That's when Lance Archer interrupted, but was attacked from behind by Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page for some reason. That was the end of the segment. Kind of ended a little weird and abruptly. Really did. Dan Lambert and the UFC guys really didn't get to do much but stand there and watch. But so maybe this will go somewhere. Obviously, it looks like Lance Archer is going to be feuding with Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. So there's that. Chris Jericho was backstage. He's overcome all this adversity because tonight he wins the prize. He may not be able to use the Judas effect, but he's got 5,000 fans in attendance who will sing him to the ring. Tonight, Jericho finally gets his revenge. Jericho up and my jerk-off friend down, he said, which is an interesting line. But it's Chris Jericho. It worked for him, I suppose.
I guess.
That was an interesting line. I was like, what, my jerk-off friend? Whatever.
What is that?
It's got me, man. Don Callis then joined commentary for the next match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. The Young Bucks defending their titles against Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. This was, all things considered, before it kind of broke down toward the end in elite fashion, a fantastic match, all things considered. Top to bottom, both teams really, did their thing. I mean, again, it's kind of AEW wrestling is sometimes, all wrestling matches are kind of hard to describe to you. You just kind of have to see a lot of the events. Yeah. So a lot of times we'll cut to the finishes and talk about the main things that count. But yeah, there was a lot of good moves and maneuvers and stuff for this match for sure. So go check it out for sure. The Young Bucks countered Jurassic Express's finisher and hit a double super kick on Jungle Boy. They hit an Indie Taker on Jungle Boy for a great near fall. Marco Stunt tried to fire up Jungle Boy, but Kenny Omega ran out and whacked him with a chair. This is where it started to get crazy. But before it started to get crazy, though, there was one spot where Luchasaurus had a Young Buck on his shoulders, and he flipped him up over his back, and he did like I don't know what you call it, like a 360. He flipped once and flipped again, and that's when Jungle Boy caught him for a powerbomb. It was an incredible sequence. I don't think I've ever seen anybody pull that off, but it was a lot of fun. But anyhow, after Kenny Omega whacked Marco Stunt with a chair, distractions were about to allow the Young Bucks to use a chair for a win, but Christian Cage ran out and fought Omega to get him to go to the back. Jungle Boy hit a brainbuster on a chair, which he snapped the chair in half. But Nick Jackson broke up the pin at the last second. Jungle Express hit a Thoracic Express, their finisher, but Nick broke it up at the last second again. I think that might have been the flip I was talking about, the Thoracic Express, but I've never seen it. Jungle Boy fought off all the cornermen before Luchasaurus hit a moonsault on the pile on the outside, which included the Good Brothers, Brandon Cutler. The whole elite were out there, so at least they were trying to run some defense here against all these guys. But of course, the numbers game is a thing, and Nick pushed Matt out of the backslide, and the Bucks immediately turned it into a BTE trigger for the win when Luchasaurus was outside hitting that moonsault. So the numbers game, that's the elite's game right now. And but I will say this: as I was watching this, I was kind of going, "All right, here we go again." Typical, all these guys running and do the stuff for AEW, which we've criticized on the show. But toward the end of it, I started, and again, I'm not making an excuse for that. You don't have to do it this way. But I've noticed lately, it seems like they've definitely dialed it back, and the only ones really doing it the last few weeks is the elite. So that's an improvement. I'll give them that. And they're definitely making this into a story because the elite always need help, whether it's Kenny or the Young Bucks. And by the end of this night, we've actually got a stip that's going to be going on at All Out that's going to kind of tie into this. But whoever can take the titles off the Young Bucks and whoever will take the AEW title off of Kenny, it's going to mean all the more because they're going to have to do it against the numbers game. And when it happens, I think it's going to create a huge pop because it's not been done. So I see what they're doing, but at the same time, I'm glad they've backed off on it when it comes to some other factions, which it seems like they've not been highlighting the other factions as much lately either. It's mostly, which is not a bad thing. We've criticized them, and we've talked at times maybe they've had too many factions at AEW. So they've kind of backed off a little bit. So that's not a bad thing. So maybe they've kind of tried to learn from their mistakes a little bit. So not bad. After the match, the Elite beat down the Jurassic Express and Christian in the ring. Callis got a stomp in for good measure before Omega hit the one-winged angel on Christian. So again, setting up and continuing that feud for the AEW World Title. So nothing wrong with that there. Backstage, we got Dr. Britt Baker D.M.D. and Rebel, I guess that's her name, not Reba, with Shivani backstage. Shivani was doing a lot of backstage stuff on this show. Baker brought out the recently returned Jamie Hayter, and Hayter said that she and Baker go way back, which they do. Ask Red Velvet and Chris Statlander what it's like at the end of my boots, she said. She dared Velvet to face her next week. Baker said gold isn't Velvet's color, but they'll have some fun in Milwaukee next week, so that sets up another match for Dynamite. Speaking of another match for Dynamite next week, a video package recapped the Matt Hardy and Orange Cassidy feud. Hardy said he wasn't trying to pick on Wheeler Yuta on Dark and Elevation. He's an equal opportunity ass kicker. If Orange continues to stick his nose in Matt Hardy's business, Hardy said he'll break it off his face. So, and Orange, at the same time, we're kind of talking about his comments too. Orange said, let's find out. So, one-on-one next week, Matt Hardy versus Orange Cassidy on Dynamite. So, I'm sure Orange gets the win here, I would assume. But it's kind of just this ongoing feud between best friends and the Hardy family office. But
yeah,
I mean, we're getting to a point in the show where it kind of started to slow down a little bit because the middle part of the show is kind of like, all right, we're setting up some feuds or just some feuds that a lot of people are going to be like, okay, great, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Nothing to write home about with some of these feuds, but. Paul White was brought to the ring by Tony Schiavone again, so another Schiavone segment. Schiavone thanked, I did like it. It was it had some good moments. Schiavone thanked Paul White for coming to his aid last week, and White said it was amazing to be back in the ring. He has a huge announcement, but QT Marshall, flanked by Nick Camarado and Aaron Solo, interrupted, and he said, "Houston, we have a problem," which not gonna lie, kind of got a chuckle out of me in Houston. But QT said here at AEW we don't get the fans excited just to let them down. Thank goodness for that. I'll give him credit for that. Some people were a little excited about the Christian thing, but yeah, that's another story. Sorry, excuse my phone there. White wasn't having it, and QT said there's a reason that Paul White was hired as an announcer and not a wrestler. He put an x-ray on the screen, along with photos of White's big scar on his hip where he's had some metal and machinery, or whatever you want to call it, put in there to kind of help him walk and all sorts of things, because Paul White has had a long career, and he's going to have some moments where he needs to have some surgeries. Paul White then fired up. He said he wasn't embarrassed by these, but said it wasn't a very good idea for QT to do this and that QT doesn't know anything. He talked with Tony Khan last week, and he will face QT at All Out. All right. When I first heard this announcement, QT versus Paul White at All Out, I'm going, I mean, you got to have some undercard matches, I guess, at All Out. This may be one of those. It could be even on the pre-show for all we know. But Big Show, I got a hard time believing Big Show's losing this against QT.
Yeah. Do you really need it, though? You
probably don't. This is probably one of those deals where, one of the things that Paul White's contract, much like Mark Henry's when he signed with AEW, is they wanted to have a few more matches in their career. This is probably one of them. It's going to be one of those things we're probably just going to have to, get through. But I mean, I would like to see Paul White do the job here. I'm not going to lie. I mean, even though. Yeah. QT, I mean, it's not going to hurt him one way or the other, but I wouldn't mind seeing, Paul White do the job. Same if Mark Henry has a match. He should, I think, but...
Yeah, because he doesn't need it.
It's one of those things where, too, it's like, no matter who was this, I don't think it really matters one way or the other, but it's there. It's a thing. Yeah. Good for Paul. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad he's getting one more match, but because he seems like a great guy and all that sort of stuff, and I'm glad he's getting the opportunity, but it's probably not...
do you really need it?
We don't. But at the same time, I have a feeling it'll be, knockout punch, choke slam. It probably won't be very long, that sort of thing. I'm sure the couple QT's guys will try to get involved. Big Show will knock him down and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, but it'll be there. So, hopefully it'll be quick and easy and out of the way, but we'll see. Next up, we had Jade Cargill and Mark Sterling in the back cutting a promo. I know Jade Cargill's kind of been wrestling on Dark and Elevation, but is she going to get in the ring at Dynamite at all? We're starting to get to that point. It's kind of like you've always said, poop or get off the pot sort of thing with Jade Cargill. Now, granted, they've got some other women they're building up for Britt Baker. They may be saving it for a while. I get all that. But, Sterling was impressed by Kiera Hogan, who apparently made her debut on Dark this week. I guess where was she before? Was it Impact? I don't recall where Kiera Hogan was from.
I have to look it up, bro.
But anyway,
that's why we have the internet.
That's why we have the internets. Well, while you do that, I'll continue with this here. So Cargill will face Kiera Hogan on Rampage.
How do you spell Kiera?
Kiera. So I guess it'll be Cargill versus Hogan on Rampage. So at least we'll get Cargill then. So at least she'll be on one of the two main shows on Friday. So that's a good thing. So good. I'm assuming Hogan's doing the job here to get over Cargill, but
I would assume so.
Yeah. So it's one of the 3 matches that'll be on Rampage this week. Cargill said it was fun to see how Miro treated Fuego del Sol last week, and that's what will happen to Hogan on Friday. Cargill said. So I'm expected.
She was in. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
She was in Impact.
Okay, that's what I thought. But yeah, this to me will be the Miro segment on Rampage this week, where we'll probably start out with a hot match, have a middle segment where the Cargill match will probably destroy Hogan, and then we'll have the main event. So that's probably what they'll do on Rampage. It'll be the buffer match, so to speak. Yeah. That's my prediction. The Elite were backstage with Tony Shivani. Again, Shivani. Shivani said that Tony Khan has had enough, and there will be a Tag Team Eliminator tournament to determine the number 1 contenders for the Young Bucks at All Out. But the key, who did they say? They said, it doesn't say here, it's Private Party, Varsity Blondes, the Lucha Brothers, and Jurassic Express. The winner of those in the tournament, which will begin, I think, actually this Friday on Rampage. I think it'll be, I'm sure they'll tell you here in a second. But the winners will take on the Young Bucks at All Out inside a steel cage. So there's the storytelling element. Mm-hmm. The Elite are constantly getting involved. AEW have only done maybe 1 steel cage match with Cody and Wardlow, I think it was. So far, AEW has not done this thing where everybody gets involved in steel cages. It actually keeps people out. So if that's the case, great. We'll get a straight-up tag team match for the Bucks titles with no interference. Not bad storytelling. I kind of like that if that's the case. So we'll see where they take it. We'll see if these other guys get involved. I'm sure they'll still try, but it may not be successful. But we'll see how it goes. We had Taz and Hook in the ring. Another storyline that I'm just kind of like, where are we going with this? Taz and Hook introduced Ricky Starks for his entrance. Starks said to bring out Brian Cage to talk, but the camera cut backstage, and of course, Powerhouse Will Hobbs backstage was standing over Brian Cage, who he had attacked. Cage and Hobbs continued to fight as Team Taz headed backstage, and that was it. That's all we saw of this. It was kind of like, I mean, obviously this is going to lead to Cage and Starks again at some point, probably, but Cage is broken away from Team Taz. I get to try to probably wrap this feud up, but maybe it's time to kind of end it. Maybe get both these parties doing something else for sure. It's just kind of there. It's just me.
Yeah, because it feels like it doesn't hold any weight.
Not really. I mean, they did their thing where Starks won the title and Cage broke away. Now, granted, you maybe you need to settle it and end it. 1 more match, okay, I'll give you that. But after that, look, and AEW is good about it. I saw some criticism this week about a lot of people were writing into Brian Alvarez's stuff on Wrestling Observer Radio, and they were saying, does anybody else feel like AEW does a lot of stop-starts with their guys? Like, they'll start a feud, and then all of a sudden they just drop it. And Brian Alvarez's argument was, no, they're telling a story, they come to a conclusion to that story, and they move on to another story. They don't tell the same story for 5 months on end over and over and over again, and that's the way it should be. And I tend to agree with him, but I can understand why some people may feel that way, because it does kind of feel like, all right, we have a feud with a couple guys, and then about a month in, well, that feud's over, and then sometimes you don't hear from them for a few weeks, and they move on. So it kind of feels like a stop-and-start thing, but personally, I would rather see it this way, to where we kind of get a constant rotation of different matches. That way, it feels fresh and it's starting a new story. So I prefer it that way. But how do you feel about that? You feel the same way? Or?
I mean, does it feel like it? Yes. They have done things sometimes where it's like you question it. Like, before we knew what the whole thing with Adam Page was, we were kind of like, why do you lose? Yeah. Type situation. But now there's a reason behind it. It's like, okay, makes sense.
And I think even Adam Page is probably the less egregious of all that, because we know that's a longer term plan. But like, say somebody like a Matt Hardy, like he'll feud with, I don't know who he feuded with recently, and then they just kind of stopped. Well, Sammy Guevara had a feud. Now it went on a little bit, and then it stopped, and then Matt Hardy went on with somebody else. That's just professional wrestling, I think. Yeah. I'd rather see that than Damian Priest versus The Miz and Morrison for. What, 8 months since Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and because that makes it feel like there's no payoff.
Yeah, it feels like where's it going to kind of like Ricky Starks and Brian Cage right now. Where's it going to end? But
Yeah,
again, but even then, it's not been as long as that.
You're not wrong. No, but it's in the same light.
It's getting there
because it's like, okay, what's the end game here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, is it Ricky Starks or is it Brian Cage? If your plan is to get Brian Cage away from them, get him away from him. Like, give him another ambition other than chasing down Ricky Starks. Because at this point, it's like, why does he even care?
Mm-hmm.
If that belt holds no merit to him, why does he give a shit?
And I am getting a little concerned about All Out and this degree. All Out, as of last week, didn't have, I think they only had 3 matches announced for the show, which is only, a couple weeks away now. Granted, they've been trying to build up Rampage the last few weeks, this coming Friday with hopefully a big surprise because they've been teasing it and all this stuff. And, of course, if that surprise ends up being it All Out, they're probably going to rely mostly on that and possibly a Daniel Bryan debut or something like that. We'll see. But as of right now, I think it was just the AEW World Title and a couple other matches, which I don't even recall off the top of my head. But then they're starting to fill it a little bit tonight with the Paul White and QT, and of course the Young Bucks winner of the Eliminator match in the cage. But I just hope that All Out is supposed to be one of their biggest shows of the year, if not the biggest show of the year. Their WrestleMania. It's either that or Double or Nothing. Those are the 2 shows. So I don't want to see a bunch of Big Show or Paul White versus QT matches. I mean, Pac and Andrade is great. That's going to be a good one. But I don't want to see them putting like Cage and Starks, all these undercard matches, filling up the entire card. You know what I'm saying? I want it to have some good stuff on it as well. I'm sure they're going to do that, and I'm sure some of these feuds will pay off on Dynamite like they have a tendency to do, kind of like tonight with Jericho and MJF, which I kind of wondered if they should have held that off till All Out, personally.
Yeah.
But maybe they've got a plan for these 2 guys again. Who knows? It seemed pretty definitive by the end of this night, but we'll get to that here in a second.
It did.
So we'll see. After this, we had Death Triangle backstage with Tony Schiavone again. This guy's getting more screen time than wrestling does on WWE. I mean, he's got more wrestling. The wrestling on Raw cannot. I think Schiavone has more time. Let's be honest with it here. So he was backstage with Death Triangle. The Lucha Bros will be in the AEW Tag Team Eliminator Tournament, and Pac will face Andrade at All Out. All Out will be in the same arena where Pac beat Kenny Omega on 2 weeks' notice. He made mention of this. Andrade and Chavo Guerrero walked up, and Andrade said Pac needed to agree to their conditions, which was a giant Reba paper. Yeah, it was huge.
Now, hold on. Here's the thing. If I'm not mistaken, are they wrestling for the contracts of those of
They haven't said that yet. But Andrade keeps saying you need to come work for me. They're not, but it could be the conditions. We just don't know what they are yet. Maybe we'll find that out the next week or two.
Because it's forward. Like if this is as serious as it seems, it should be treated as much. That whole comedy thing with that big ass thing, I was like, come on, dude. Like Andrade's supposed to be a serious businessman. Type deal here.
Yeah, he kind of has this Godfather feel to him, like
because
he has a hard time with the English a little bit, so he kind of comes off as like yeah.
And that's why
for my guys,
there, right? Because Chavo's supposed to be his translator.
And I like that better than Vicky for sure. Nothing against Vicky, but I think Chavo just fits this role a little better eventually. Now he's got this other guy. Was it Abrahantes? Is that his name?
Abrahantes.
Yeah, he's another interpreter. But
don't ask me. I'm not about to butcher that name.
But I mean, I'll be interested to see what's in that giant ream of paper. Hopefully, we find that out soon. I'm sure we will. It's just going to be, it may have something to do with the Lucha Bros, which makes me feel like Lucha Bros do not advance to the Young Bucks match. But I would love to see that match, no doubt about it. Which I mean, I'm sure we've seen before. It's been a while, but we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know, but yeah, that's.
I said I would like to see it again.
Oh yeah,
I've already seen it.
It's again. Interesting by their absence, though. No Santana, Ortiz, or FTR tonight, which I'm surprised they were announced. Now, this could have something to do with Cash Wheeler's arm still a little bit. I don't know, but they're going to continue that feud, too, and maybe they eventually get injected in the tag team title matchups as well. Let's see here. Chavo said that even if the Lucha Bros win the tournament, they will never be champions as long as they work for Pac, so furthering that. Next up, we had what I thought was a decent women's match. Not only a decent, but both these women are in the top 5 of the women's division. So silently, and it was put over a little bit, but at the same time, it was kind of out of nowhere. 2 top contenders were it was a big deal because Penelope Ford was 16-2 in her last 18 matches, and Thunder Rosa was on a 19 match winning streak. So kind of sneakily here, this is a big match in regards to the women's division. So I kind of like that idea of just kind of being, hey, here it is. And, this is going to influence the AEW women's title position here. Thunder Rosa versus Penelope Ford. Rosa spun around and hit a Death Valley driver for 2. Ford got the Muda lock once again, but Rosa fought out and locked on a modified sleeper for the submission here. So I thought it was a fun match between the two. Nothing, I mean, some people are going to say, the women at AEW aren't the greatest, and they kind of have a point. I mean, they're not the best, women's wrestlers in the world at times, but I think they are improving steadily and slowly. But
yeah,
it's going to take time. I think they're, you give them a few more years, their women's division is going to be a lot better. It's already got some decent depth, more than Raw and SmackDown. If you combine Raw and SmackDown's roster, I think they'd have a great women's division. Same with the tag divisions a little bit, or at least the tag division would be better. But when you got the split brands, you've only got the same 3 or 4 women on each show that you're using, even though you have other women, you just don't use them. But that's just kind of my opinion on that. So it kind of benefits them here. I know I talked to my buddy, or our buddy Mike, about the trivia guru about, will AEW split the roster because they have a lot of talent. So when you do like Raw and SmackDown with Dynamite and Rampage, split the rosters up. I kind of would prefer they don't do that unless it does go to 2 hours eventually. Then maybe you could argue there'd be some merit to it. And if done properly, it can be done well, like Mike has said. But I also think that also limits you a little bit because you have to use somebody on that particular roster. And this way you can kind of have on both shows if you need them to in different feuds. So I kind of like the way they do it.
Yeah.
Backstage, Arn Anderson and Brock Anderson were backstage with Tony Shivani. Imagine that. Shivani was getting his work in tonight. Arn Anderson said he was emotional. When Malachi Black appeared back at the beginning of July, he turned their world upside down. Now Brock has a match with Malachi Black next week on Dynamite. Arn Anderson warned Brock that he'd hurt him. It looked like Brock Anderson had been the one who asked for this match. They didn't flat out say it, but he said, with all due respect, Dad, I'm not asking. I'm telling you this time. And he walked away. So Brock versus Malachi. It sounds like Malachi is going to destroy this young kid.
Listen, I'm about to say, I don't know if this is what you want, boss.
Yeah, I mean, it ties into the Cody storyline, so
pick your battles, bro.
I mean, I get it. He wants to defend his dad and his honor and stuff like that, so I get it. You kid's headstrong and young. He's about to get a lesson as a young kid here in the wrestling business, but that's fine. That's the type of booking I'd rather see, though. A guy who should win. Is it predictable? Sure, but again, sometimes predictable is not bad. In this case, Malachi will get his win that he needs to continue to build him, and Brock will get a learning lesson. And if he has a good match with Malachi, hey, he'll get over more for it. So I think
he can lose and have a good match. I mean, winning isn't a determining factor whether or not you'll be a good wrestler or you'll get over. I mean, you could have all the fucking wins in the world and still be shitty in the ring, especially if somebody else is carrying you through those matches.
Yeah.
But sometimes losing is better. You go out there and you have a good showing. Yeah, you lost, but you worked your ass off. Everything was crisp. It looked great. And that's what people remember more. They're not going to remember whether or not you won or lost your fucking first match. They'll remember the match itself.
Right. Well, it's not his first match at AEW. He's been on some.
I get what
you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But it's also one of those deals too. Like that is true to. There's a fine line there because the opposite side of that coin is you could do 50-50 booking on AEW or on WWE, and they want to say, wins and losses don't really matter, that sort of thing. But then when no one gets wins consistently, or people never lose consistently, no one gets over either way. So that becomes a problem too.
Getting over is part of it. Like I said, win or lose, if you go out there and you have a good match, then a Hurricane, Shane Helms.
Shane Helms.
Shane Helms. Hurricane rarely won anything. I know he was tag champs for a little bit too, but he rarely won anything. But he would go out there and put on a hell of a match, and he was entertaining. So. You remember that more than the fact that he lost. You remember the fact that, dude, that theme music hits. He comes out, I'm not going to do the pose because I look like an idiot. But yeah.
I'll do it. I have no qualms about looking like an idiot.
Fucking stand back. There's a hurricane
coming through.
Like, yo.
Yeah.
But he could also wrestle.
Yeah, he could. Yeah.
So it wasn't a matter of whether he lost or he won. It was just like, dude, Did you see what he did?
He was the R-Truth of our time, or
Yes.
our old time back in the United States. I'll never forget the Royal Rumble where he gets in the ring and he's going toe-to-toe with Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin. He tries to double chokeslam both of them, and they're just like, you see this guy? And they both just chuck him out. That was probably his highlight of his Royal Rumble career for sure. So, I love that. We'll get Malachi Black and Brock next week. Not Lesnar. Brock Anderson.
Yes.
So this week on Rampage, the first dance, which is literally a day away when you're seeing this, AEW Tag Team Eliminator, Jurassic Express versus Private Party in the first round of that. Jade Cargill versus Kiera Hogan, and Jon Moxley versus Daniel Garcia, playing off the stuff they set up earlier on in this show.
That was a hell of a promo he cut too, man.
Yeah, Moxley knows how to talk, especially when you don't script him.
Man.
So I'm excited. I mean, obviously Moxley's going to probably demolish this kid for cracking him in the leg. But I mean, I would assume the main event is the Tag Team Eliminator. But then again, let's assume here for a second that CM Punk does show up, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe Moxley's last, and he has a stare down with Moxley. I mean, I don't know. I know they're kind of been teasing Darby, which, I mean, still could happen. Darby could still be on the show. But I'm just trying to figure out how they would bring in Punk. I mean, they're going to do it. I mean, shoot, all they have to have him do is walk out and say something on the microphone, and it'll work in Chicago. But
those people are going to want to see Punk.
Something, yeah. I mean, it might be enough for the program, but then maybe they do something, off air for the crowd. Who knows? So that's the rumor. We'll see if that actually holds true. Like you said, they better. Not only that.
At this point, you better, because if you don't.
Yeah, not only that, I forgot to mention it, the thing that they teased earlier. A couple weeks ago, Kenny Omega wore a Cookie Monster shirt. CM, Cookie Monster, that whole deal. Tonight, he wore a Chick Magnet shirt. It said Chick Magnet on it. Again, it's subtle. It's there. Of course, everybody always speculates what CM means. Chicago made. Chick Magnet was one of them, so it plays into it. Not saying it's something, but it's definitely, I mean, they're doing this on purpose. At some point, if he don't show up like you said, they've got to get criticized for this because they are planting those seeds. You could say, well, they flat out never said he'd be there, but come on.
But all your reports said otherwise, so like.
The reports, whatever, they could be false. But if the company themselves are actually teasing it.
Buying into the reports and then not telling anybody, like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, not denying it either.
So then now you get everybody to tune into your program because they think that he's going to show up there. So which boosts your ad revenue, obviously. And then he doesn't show up. That's like a kick in the dick.
Now, I'm not going to defend it if he don't show up. I'll be the first one to get on here and be like, you guys teased it and you didn't deliver. However, if it doesn't happen on Rampage, they would maybe, and I'm saying this as strictly as possible, get one mulligan because they have All Out in Chicago, but it has to happen at All Out at the latest. But to me, if you don't do it at Rampage, you're going to still get an angry crowd because during the promo for these matches, they were chanting CM Punk. So I don't think you could even get by. You at least have to announce it at this show, even if he isn't there. But I think if he's not there, they still burn that building to the ground, especially since it's the biggest crowd in AEW television history they've already been touting. You've got to pull the trigger. Maybe they don't get that mulligan, but I can see maybe if you hold, maybe he don't have, All Out's got to be his match though.
If he isn't there and he's not actually part of your roster in some capacity, whether he's there commentating or whatever, he doesn't show up. You then have to say something about, look, you guys got your expectations up. We fed into the whole thing that we're sorry for, but there is no way CM Punk is coming back to wrestling.
Oh. If you do that, you're going to turn off a lot of AEW hardcore fans because that's, false advertisement, basically. I mean, they're not advertising it, but it's as close as you could get without advertising it. You're basically telling your fans subtly, but you're telling your fans to expect this, and then when you don't deliver something that massive in the eyes of a lot of fans, some people don't feel like it's going to be that massive.
And you can't even have Daniel Bryan come on because it's not what they want.
That's not going to cover it. Of course, I've been hearing that Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson will be probably their New York show. That'll be the big thing there, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, this here, I'll be the first one to come out and criticize it. But I have AEW's usually when they are at least teasing something, they've already got it locked, signed, sealed, and delivered. So I have a feeling he'll come out, and I think this will be his first appearance, and then his first match will be an All Out. So it makes sense to do it in this sequence. But that's probably what we're going to have. Otherwise, also for next week's Dynamite, they announced the AEW Tag Team Eliminator. The other half of that first round, Lucha Brothers versus Varsity Blondes. I wouldn't be surprised if Varsity Blondes maybe wins this because
I think they should. I mean, they've been working there.
Not only that, they got a hell of a record. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe they get the shot against the Bucks. Can you imagine?
I think if you're into making stars, that's the way to do it. The Varsity Blondes have been like that underdog, under the radar thing. And I told you this before when I watched, even though he lost to Miro, I thought Brian Pillman Jr. was phenomenal.
Yeah, they're both great in the ring. Griff Garrison's the other one, right? I believe.
Yeah, Griff Garrison.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I enjoy their look. I enjoy their style of wrestling. They can cut a promo, especially Pillman's kid, dude. He is something like his dad. Less intense. No, I can't say that because when he needs to turn it up, he turns it up. But Pillman had this kind of intensity to him.
Mm-hmm. Crazy man intensity.
Even when he was part of the Hollywood Blondes with him and Stone Cold.
Yeah.
It was, it's his eyes, the way he would make eye contact with the camera. It's like you felt that. And then when they did that whole story between him and Stone Cold, I thought the dude was nuts.
Yeah. And the more I think about it too, like you said, if you want to build new stars, between now and All Out, you could build up. The Elite's not going to take them serious because they're not really perceived as a team who could be a threat, but their record speaks for themselves. A lot of it's on Dark and Elevation. They've been getting wins, sure. But at AEW, that's kind of how they build a lot of the wins for their title, contentions. But if you build it like they have no chance in hell against the Elites, but in a steel cage where the Elite's going to be nullified to a degree against the Bucks, they put on a hell of a match in front of that Chicago crowd, you could build a legit new tag team by putting the titles on the Varsity Blondes. Not to mention Jungle Express, Private Party, and Lucha Bros, the other three teams in this. Private Party you could maybe, use the help here. But the other two teams, they don't need the titles. They're already over. Now, I'd like to see Jungle Express and Lucha Bros eventually get it.
Just about to say that, but I would love to see something more out of Jungle Express.
Agreed.
I get it. It's all about Jungle Boy right now, and I'm cool with that. But Luchasaurus needs something to do.
Look great tonight, but yeah.
How long do you plan on keeping him with Jungle Boy? If you're not going to do something with them as a tag team, and I hate to say it, split him up. But it doesn't have to be like the Marty Jannetty and fucking Shawn Michaels thing. Although it would do wonders for Luchasaurus if he turned on Jungle Boy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Luchasaurus maybe goes heel at some point. I could see that. But speaking of the Jungle Express, I'd be remiss if I do not jump back to that tag team title match real quick. Because there was a spot in this match I absolutely died laughing. During this match at one point, Brandon Cutler, the goof that he is, jumps up on the apron, tried to get Luchasaurus's attention. He's holding a flare. That's not lit, but he's holding a flare, and he's waving it like this, like in Jurassic Park, when he's trying to get the T-Rex's attention. I absolutely lost my mind. I thought that was the funniest thing. Now, stupid. Listen. I know, it was stupid, but for whatever reason, I know, you're going to bring up WWE done it. It would have been stupid. But for whatever, I don't know. I get it. Maybe I need to lighten up a little bit on WWE's comedy. I understand. But that there, I don't know what it was. Dumb. It was dumb. But I'm not saying it was, good writing or anything, but I was just like, this guy tried the Jurassic Park thing on the dinosaur.
Simply because he's called Luchasaurus.
Yeah. I don't know why. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, dumb, but I couldn't. I'm still laughing about it now.
Like I said, like you got a kick out of that.
Yeah, I know.
I got a kick out of. Oh God, what was it? It was on NXT, and I told you why. I don't know why it was so funny to me, but it was. Oh, it was the whole thing with Lumis, Triple H, and
Backstage.
Regal. Yeah. it was just a look on Triple H's face as of like
she hugged him or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that one time Top Dollar rolled down the window outside in the car. That was another one. Or last week for me was the first date stuff with Loomis and LeRae.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have good comedy in WWE. It's just sometimes it just doesn't hit. But when comedy hits in wrestling, it is great.
It's the stuff that you don't expect that's the funniest.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, and it's just when Brandon Cutler jumps up on the thing, you're like, bro, really?
No, I mean, he's been doing this goofy comedy stuff with the spray cans and stuff anyway, which a few weeks back he was trying to spray one of the opponents of the Bucks, but accidentally sprayed the Bucks. But the funny thing was, in that one, he sprayed the can. He kept spraying it because he was afraid and he couldn't move, so he kept spraying. That part was great, too. But, it's just little things that catch you off guard.
Who was it grabbed him? And they were either going to powerbomb or something, and he's on their shoulders, but he's still holding the spray cans down in either
in the air.
Or Nick's face, and he's just like, ah! It was,
he's like, what am I doing? But I can't stop. It was, But the whole Flair thing, I about died. But anyway, we'll move on from that.
Wait. Which Flair thing we talking about?
Oh, well, if you want to talk Ric Flair thing. For those of you who don't know, check out why Ric Flair was trending on Twitter. We'll just say that. Oh, boy. Space Mountain's still open, boys and girls. Oh, my goodness. Woo! But, I hope that was his wife. That's all I can say. I'm sure it was. If not, he's in trouble. But anyway, as you mentioned earlier, Jon Moxley... I'm sorry. Before this, we had a Miro video package played, which again, another great promo. Always talking about he loves to serve God during the day and please his wife at night. Another every time he mentions Lana CJ Perry, I just love it. He does not forgive Fuego del Sol for accepting something he felt entitled to. He serves God every day and is hot white every night. Eddie Kingston, the Redeemer, wants to talk to you. So. This could be good. Eddie Kingston versus Miro could be intriguing. I
just don't think you feed Eddie Kingston to Miro.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, outside of the stuff he's doing with Moxley, Kingston's not really in a major storyline. I don't know if it really.
Like Miro can't lose if it's not for the title, in a sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, against somebody like Eddie Kingston's not your normal guy. He's different.
I mean, it'll be a good match. But I expect Eddie Kingston to lose that match. But you never know. I mean, maybe Eddie wins the title. I mean, I doubt it on a short build.
I don't think Eddie wins the title.
Probably not, but I would think he would probably still be doing stuff with Moxley. But if Moxley's going to start doing some single stuff again, Eddie's got to get in some sort of program. So I'm intrigued by it, no doubt about it. It'll be a good match. But it sounds like Eddie will probably take the pinfall here and continue to build Miro. But we'll see what they do. Maybe all out. That would be at least a little better than some of the other matches they've announced so far. We'll see. Jon Maxley, as you said, was backstage, got a good promo. He's been thinking about everyone coming to AEW. How about pull to JR? He then ran down all the top stars like the Elite, Hangman Page, and Christian Cage. Moxley's the guy who carried the company through uncertain times, he said. He said it's about time to send a message about the food chain in AEW. He will main event Rampage, so I guess that's the final match of the show. There's our clarification. Against Daniel Garcia, but Garcia should ask if this is what he really wants because this ain't no joke, quote unquote. So, he's going to get destroyed by Moxley here. I got no doubt about it. I remember when somebody came through the crowd at an AEW event and shocked the world. Maybe that's what they do with Punk. We'll have to see what they do. But anyway, Jericho came out next MJF came out first, and then Jericho came out with no music. And I mentioned it last week on the review here on the channel that I thought if the crowd could get into sync, they were going to sing this a cappella without the music. And there was a little rough starting out to get on the same page, but boy, they finally got on the same page, and this crowd sang Judas. And it sounded great. I ain't going to lie. Jericho was beaming ear to ear with this huge ass smile on his face. So glad that this pull went off without a hitch. I think this was really cool.
It's a catchy ass fucking song.
I'm just glad everybody remembered. And there were people in the crowd with signs that had the lyrics, so I thought that was pretty clever. Of course, they've been trying to build this up all week. Like, hey, we want you to sing it. Off social media and stuff like that. Or MJF talking about those. Hicks in Houston don't know the words anyway. That sort of thing. So, it's a good song. So Jericho cannot use the Judas effect in this match as well. He took MJF down at the start and hit his signature springboard dropkick followed by a plancha to the floor. MJF sent Jericho into the barricade and grabbed the ringside camera, taunting Jericho. The camera panned to Jericho, though, kind of like that old Jericho spot where he takes the camera and shows his opponent. I believe Austin did a middle finger. No, that was Rock. I think Rock botted him once doing this or something like that. So the camera panned to Jericho, however, and Jericho punched the camera, sending the camera back into MJF's face, planting him on his back. In the ring, MJF attacked Jericho's arm to regain control, so still playing off the fact that he fell off the blood and guts cage, where I think he did legitimately dislocate his elbow. I'm assuming it's okay now, and he's just played it off for storyline, but good use of storyline here. Jericho came back with a clothesline upon return. Right hands and a shoulder tackles took MJF off his feet before Jericho landed a double sledge off the top. MJF once again resumed the attack on Jericho's arm. Jericho took him down with a cross chop before a lion salt followed for a near fall. It was a good lion salt, so good to see that again.
It was a clean lion salt.
Yeah, I know he kind of got some critique for not hitting that one week, and then the following week he made it look perfect and did a good job again here. He kept up the offense with 10 quarter clotheslines before bringing MJF to the top rope. He landed 10 punches and a top rope hurricanrana for 2. Jericho pulled this hurricanrana off pretty well, too, not gonna lie. MJF sold the hell out of it as well. Kind of pulled a little bit of a Rock oversell toward the end. Hit his back, got all the way back up, and went back down, so it was kind of funny. Once MJF kicked out, he immediately locked on the Salt of the Earth armbar. So again, the Fujiwara armbar that he pulls off here played into that arm being hurt, so I like that. And that's, of course, MJF's finisher. After a long fight, Jericho rolled through and applied the walls. MJF countered it quickly and hit an up kick to break the hold. They traded punches in the center of the ring before MJF was able to snap Jericho's arm over the rope. The Heat Seeker pile driver then followed for a 2 count. It's kind of like a Randy Orton, hanging or DDT off the middle ropes. This is a draping pile driver off the ropes. MJF hit a low blow where the official couldn't see it and locked on a lion tamer. Jericho dug in and crawled to the ropes. MJF tried to grab the Dynamite diamond ring, but Aubrey Edwards saw this and had him remove it and moved it out of the way. And when she's doing this, Jericho hit MJF with Floyd, but hesitated on the Judas effect because he realized he couldn't hit that move. That's when MJF hit a Judas effect and locked on the Salt of the Earth armbar. Jericho made one attempt at a cradle to break out of it and tried to get on his side, but MJF kept it locked on and forced him flat on his stomach and forced Jericho to tap out here. So all these weeks led up to this match, and MJF, at first I was torn on this, whether or not I thought this was the right call, because you build this up for a month and then Jericho loses. However, as I was seeing MJF celebrate here, it's Jericho putting over the young talent. So in that case, I have no problem with it. But yeah, it does kind of feel like the last month led up to, MJF won. So I could see an argument here or there for either side of this argument, but I think in the long haul, it's the right call. But I still feel like this ain't over, even though it did kind of feel like MJF was the victor.
Good man. I think you've gotten everything you can out of this whole feud between the Pinnacle and Inner Circle,
which is kind of taking a back seat to this one-on-one feud over the last month. So yeah, that was outside of Sammy and
it's time
Spears.
We roll it up.
It might be. That's possible. And not only that, I think this is good for MJF because in the long run, a few months down the road, whatever it is, Hangman Adam Page is going to win the AEW World Title. Hangman Page, the AEW champion, versus MJF as a money title match. 2 young bucks in their prime of their careers. Also, if CM Punk or Bryan Danielson comes into this company, MJF is going to be a top heel for them to go against as well. Can you imagine the promo CM Punk and MJF can have against each other? Assuming Punk is what he used to be.
I think, but putting him against someone who like MJF could pick CM Punk apart too.
In the ring, you mean? Well, you got muted there for a second. What'd you say?
On the microphone.
Oh yeah, on the microphone. Yeah, maybe. I mean, Punk would have to bring his A game, no doubt about it.
Daniel Bryan, that's a different story. Daniel's pretty versed on the microphone. If CM Punk can still deliver,
because there for a while he was, but it's been 7 years, so
yeah.
I don't know if them pipe bombs are as explosive as they used to be, but we'll see what he can do with it. Probably in another 48 hours or so. But again, if you think about it that way, MJF getting the win here against these potential baby faces coming into the company, it makes some sense. So if that's where they're going with it. If they do move on, great. If they don't, I think you need to wrap it up soon, probably. I know they talked about having a long-term story plan with the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle, which you can still come back to at some point. Maybe just give it a break for a little while. Still have that animosity toward each other, and maybe you renew the rivalry. There's always that. But we've not seen Jake Hager. We've not seen a lot of these guys feuding within the factions a whole lot. So outside of Sean Spears and Sammy today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with this. Do you think they made the right booking call, or?
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, what was honestly Jericho gain from beating him?
Not really nothing. I mean, again, he's a guy who's been around 20 plus years. He don't need it. MJF needs the big win, which he's gotten wins over Jericho before, but this is kind of, granted, MJF kind of, sleazed his way into getting his steps and all this stuff through all this. So you could even argue in Jericho's case that, MJF kind of cheated in a way but he beat him straight up in this match, despite the fact he couldn't use the Judos effect. Had Jericho been able to use that, maybe it would have been a different story. There's always that seed of doubt that they planted as well. So yeah, I think all in all, though, I think moving forward it's a good decision. So we'll see what they do. And of course, we're definitely anticipating the Rampage episode tomorrow night. So we'll be back, and we'll probably, if Punk returns, we'll probably discuss a little bit of Rampage on our SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver review on Monday morning. So look forward to that. So we'll probably at least touch upon it, because that's a big story. We probably don't want to wait a whole week to discuss it. So we'll probably at least touch upon it then. So definitely tune in for our review for SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver 36 on Monday morning as well. And with that, I guess we'll get out of here tonight. And like I said, next week we'll be doing our WWE and AEW recap all in one show. That'll be dropping on the channel on Thursdays with Raw, Smackdown, NXT, Dynamite, and Rampage for the previous week, as well as Smackdown for the previous week. And we'll go all through that together, and we'll have a good time. So until then, if you're finding us for the very first time, please click that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content on this channel. And until our next video, guys, take care.
Goodbye.
Yeah, ready to go, man, lock and load. That's right, I swear to God that I can jump and roll. Yeah, I got a shot and I ain't stopping, no. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable.